Hello again, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kimberly Unger, and I am back again with a fresh new face to read to you from my debut novel, Nucleation. Now, if you remember, the gimmick is that I'm going to read one page a week from the first chapter, each week wearing a different virtual reality avatar. This is week 3, version number 3 for me. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The Waldo couldn't scowl, but Helen tried it anyway. Waldo operators like herself were, in a word, interchangeable, as long as there were protocols, lists of instructions to follow. No one pilot got too comfortable with one kind of Waldo because you never knew where they were going to put you next. Fine. Helen ran through the checklist, meticulously testing each joint, each actuator, every fiber in the robot body she was remote piloting. The automatic checks had been run well before she'd been entangled. These first tests were all about her ability to control the body down to the fingertips. 90% of her jobs were like this, following the list, endless lists that could just as easily be run by an AI, if you asked most people. Leg 8 felt sluggish. Helen felt it before the computer gave her the heads up. Less than a millisecond slower than its siblings to respond, it took her a little extra focus to match pace with its twin. Ted, are you getting this? Leg 8? Affirmative, still inside the workable parameters. Yes, but it still should be a perfect match. This whole rig is professionally built, not extruded by some kid's crappy apartment printer. It's not supposed to have that kind of slippage. There was a pause before her nav replied. Entangled communication meant no lag time, which meant that Ted was considering, or maybe consulting with someone before he replied. Helen, are you telling me you cannot work within these tolerances? No. I'm handing you the opportunity to wring a mea culpa payment out of whatever contractor slipped a decimal point. Smartass was the only response that played well. Too many complaints got you written up. Keep the navs laughing, and they might not take every comment seriously enough to notate. Piss a nav off, and you'd hang yourself with the rope they'd given you. Except Ted. She'd been partnered with Ted long enough to know he wasn't about to write her up for being particular. Helen handled the hardware. Ted handled the management. Between the two of them, they'd managed to stay one of Far-Reach's top operation teams for the past year, a position that made high-profile gigs like piloting the golf ball much easier to get to. Ted's snort reverberated in her head. Good luck collecting on that. It's all code by committee these days, you know that. Team-based engineering provides better results, she quoted, tossing a line from one of their training manuals back at him. In the years since they'd arrived at Far Reaches, they'd found their rhythm working within a structured system, but Ted's rebellious streak was always looking for an opportunity to complain. 3 years ago, the Ferguson's asteroid incident had made them an inseparable team, which meant covering for each other's personality quirks. Ted handled the people. Helen handled the hardware. Committees aren't teams, Helen. You know that. They're the opposite of teams. She could hear his voice change, the words spoken so the rest of the team at Flight Ops could hear him. Ted never could resist an audience. All right, that is the end of page 3. I will see all of you again sometime next week, wearing a fresh new face, and reading to you from my upcoming novel, Nucleation, due out in November of 2020. Stay tuned.